goodbye. Is that all you got? You see, it's scary, isn't it? Isn't it? Dude, nobody knows original Star Trek. Man, you know how you guys love anime? That was me when I was 11, 12, 13, only it was Star Trek. All Star Trek. I mean, you know what I would do? Long before there was an internet, long before there were DVDs, I would come home from school every day, and the parents here, you know what I'm talking about. I would come home from school every day, and I would sit my cassette recorder in, I know, cassette, what's that? They're these little plastic boxes, and they have rolls of tape inside them. I would sit my cassette recorder in front of the television speaker, and I would record the episode that showed that day at 5 o'clock on WIIC, Channel 11 in Pittsburgh. And I would record it, the audio, right, just the audio, because there wasn't any video recording back then. And then I would go to sleep at night, and I would put the cassette player under my pillow and go to sleep listening to the episodes. So I flipping memorized Star Trek episodes, like literally, quote, entire scenes. So that's why it's scary. I think sometimes I could have been like a freaking rocket scientist, you know? I could have been like somebody really brilliant, but I filled my brain up with all this useless information. But, yeah, we're glad you did. We're glad you're dumb. You're my favorite stupid person. Anyway, so, you guys, I have to tell you something. I told you how when I was off the charts, you guys, like, my mom taught me how to sew, use the sewing machine. I made my own Star Trek uniforms. I got the kids in their neighborhood together and made little Star Trek movies. I built little sets in the woods behind my house. And I mean, I lived it. I would sit in front of the television and watch the episodes every day. And I would sit there, sprawled out in front of me were like all the craft things that I had in the house. Aluminum foil, cardboard, tape, glue, glitter, markers, everything. And I would build little communicators and phasers, like watching on the screen to see what it looked like. And, oh, that part looks like it's really long. Oh, there's something silver right back here. I mean, I was obsessed. Now, 35 years later, I'm about to tell you something that I am very excited about. I have come together with two friends of mine. The three of us have we've decided that we are going to do a web series. We are currently rebuilding the original sets from the original series of Star Trek. I mean, like the bridge, the transporter room, the briefing room, the corridors, the captain's quarters, and we are planning to shoot our first episode this fall, and I'm playing Captain Kirk. It is a childhood dream come true. When I walk onto that bridge for the first time in uniform, I'm gonna fall apart. I can't wait. So you guys, keep your eyes open for it. Obviously, I'll be promoting it on Twitter. I'll be sending Casey a tweet about it. And it'll be on the internet, all over the internet and stuff. But just last week, I went to the Star Trek convention in Vegas. And you want to hear something funny, you guys? I just went as a fan, right? I haven't been to a Star Trek convention in 30 years, but I went as a fan, and I mean, I dressed up, and my sweet girl Michelle dressed up, and we're walking around, people taking pictures and stuff. And what was funny is, I've done a lot of conventions with Jonathan Frakes, who played Riker in Next Gen, or Michael Dorn, or George Takei, or, you know, so they don't know that I'm a Star Trek nerd. They think I'm just another actor that does these events with them. And so we're walking around, and I gotta tell you, I was in uniform. I was in the really cool Captain Kirk uniform, the V-neck, the green V-neck that wrapped around, and he had his own little special one. Pardon?
Right there.
Oh yeah, baby. And so we're walking around, and I walk up to Jonathan Frakes' autograph table. Now he knows me from conventions that we've done together. So he's signing, and I walk up and I just gonna give him my best Captain Kirk. Commander Riker, how are you? And he looks up and he goes, oh my God. You're not one of them, are you? And I'm like, come on, give me some love. And he gets up and comes over and like plants a big kiss on my cheek, and we hug each other and stuff. But it was so funny because for this one weekend, I was not working as an actor at the convention. I was just a fan, just there enjoying Star Trek with everybody else. And I'll bet I was approached by 20 anime fans that are also Star Trek fans. They had recognized me from other conventions that I had done that they were at. And so it was so much fun to get to see anime fans there and enjoy that. But anyway, so you see how obsessed I got when she mentioned Star Trek and asked me those incredibly easy questions? Anyway, I'm sorry, it's nothing personal. It's just I know a lot of garbage about that stuff. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Can I go over there and shake your hand first?
Absolutely, come up here. What's your name? What's your name, my brother? Sorry? Nice to meet you. It's a pleasure. What's your question?
Well, it's not more of a question, it's more of a, well, all my life I've been watching you since you were doing DBZ, Broly, but I never knew who you were till about last week.
You know what? It's funny, because I never knew who you were until right now.
Well, thank you, because I've been watching anime all my life, and I didn't know about this convention till last week, and see, my cousins are over there.
Yo, nice work, cuz. Way to bring him in.
My brother and Nike, they woke me up like 15 minutes before he came.
Well, bro, it is a pleasure to meet you. Do you give man hugs? Come on. Oh, dude, you know what? Your thanks is more than enough. Thank you so much. Thanks, man. I just love that. How cool is that? I love that. Thank you so much, man. That was very, very cool. Yes. Kind of. It's nice to meet you. What's your name? Bree. Bree?
No, so you said you're going to Team Rocket, and now I'm a fan of yours. I have to know, what is your opinion of Team Rocket?
Do you like Team Rocket? Then I love Team Rocket. Oh my gosh, Team Rocket is everything. I mean, like, it's my favorite. It's always been my favorite. Like, Star Trek? No. Team Rocket is what I love. Okay. Yes, little Edo. I see this little automail arm go, pew. Stand up, baby. Oh, you are standing. No, sorry. That's an Ed joke. That's not a you joke. You look fantastic. Oh, what is your bag? No, you didn't. Really? Believe it! You know what I think? I think Ed could kick Naruto's butt. Not that he would, but he could if he wanted to. So just put that out there, okay? Thank you. Did you make that too? I love him. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I'm gonna have to send a little picture of this to Miley Flanagan, who does Naruto, and go, ha! In your face. I got an awesome, wait a minute, cake break. Oh, that's good cake. That's good cake. Just a minute. Wait a minute. Mom question. This is gonna be good. Uh-oh, you guys be good. Shh. Don't say anything. Sure. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, baby. Don't stop believing.
To make all of these people so crazy.
Well, I send out cashier's checks. Hey, would you do me a favor? Mute the line that's coming from the laptop. Thank you. Pays to know a little bit about audio. What is that noise? Ugh. Okay, thank you, thank you. When we show something, we'll turn it back on. That's a great question. Here's the cool part about it. I think one of the reasons why, and don't get scared. Don't get scared that I'm gonna like say something religious, but this is me, okay? One of the reasons why I feel so strongly about sharing my faith is because I give God all the credit for anything that's happened in my life. You need to know something. I never planned to be a voice actor. I knew nothing about voice acting. It was not, I get emails all the time. When did you decide to be a voice actor? When did you set your goals on being? I didn't. It never even occurred to me. Now sure, I loved animation and cartoons and, I mean, dude, I loved Speed Racer when I was little. But I didn't know it was anime. I didn't know it was from Japan. I just thought it was cool. It didn't look like Bugs Bunny Roadrunner. It didn't sound like, you know, like Scooby-Doo. There was something different about it, and I liked it, but I didn't know what it was. And 12, maybe 13 years ago, I was working on a video production in Houston, Texas, with a guy, and he said to me, "Hey, you got a lot of acting experience, don't you?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I've done theater and a lot of performing and stage work and some on-camera work." And he said, "You want to go and audition for this place here in Houston called ADV Films." He said they buy these Japanese animated shows and they dub them into English and they need actors. And I was like, here in Houston? Really? There's something like that here that does something like that? He's like, "Yeah, dude, check it out." So he gives me the phone number, and I call ADV, and I'm like, "Hey, I'd like to." I was referred by this gentleman, and they called me in for an audition. And I went in, and you guys literally, you could fit ADV on the stage. It was this tiny little studio of guys just like you and me who just loved the stuff and wanted to do it. They didn't have any illusion that they were going to be multimillionaires or that they were going to have some big empire. They just wanted to make anime into English for people, English-speaking people to enjoy it. Okay? So I went in and I auditioned and I got cast as Vega in Street Fighter 2. I had never done any voice acting. I had no aspirations to be a voice actor. It was literally a door that God opened in front of me and I went, just kind of wandered in. And 10 years later, I was sitting at an autograph table at Anime Expo in Los Angeles. A lot of you have been there, like 40,000 people. And I was sitting at a table with Monica Rial. And there was an autograph line as far as the eye could see. And I looked at Monica, because she and I started at ADV at about the same time. And I looked at Monica and I'm like, "Do you believe this? How did this happen? I mean, what? You know, how totally weird." She and I never imagined that anime would grow into what it had become. And I was just blessed, and I don't mean lucky, I mean blessed enough to be in the middle of the anime industry about, whatever, 7-ish years ago when it went and it just exploded, and it was everywhere. On network television, Toonami, G4, Sci-Fi, Cartoon Network, it was everywhere. And I was just blessed enough to be in the middle of it when it did, when it grew so much. And then, not lucky, blessed, my friend. I'm serious. And then, so I'm doing this little ADV thing, right? And by the way, what was I doing professionally? I was writing music. I was working for ad agencies in Houston, Texas, writing music for commercials and producing video and audio work for other clients. And meanwhile, doing this little weird voice acting thing every once in a while. I didn't even know where they sold this stuff. I didn't even know what happened to it after I recorded it. I just did it for fun. As an actor, it was fun. It wasn't about being paid a lot of money, because I promise you, voice actors do not get paid much money. But there was a lot of fun in it. It was a creative outlet. So then somebody tells me about anime conventions. I'm like, what? Now I've been to Star Trek conventions, but anime conventions? They're like, yeah. Fans of this stuff get together and they dress up as characters they like, and there's cool swag, and there are panels about things, and they show videos, and I got invited to one. So I went and I sat at this table, and I was blown away that there were like wall scrolls with people I played on them, and little characters, action figures, and people were showing up with DVDs of shows that I'd done. Wait a minute, VHS of shows that I had done. I mean, when I started this, they didn't even release anime on DVDs. It was VHS tapes. So while I was doing these little anime conventions here and there, I met some people from a company called Funimation. Funimation, at that point in time, was known as the house that DBZ built. That was their thing. That was DBZ. They did other shows, but DBZ. That was what they did. And it was on television. Everybody knew DBZ. I didn't know DBZ, but everyone else did. So I met these people from Funimation at a convention I was at once, and they're like, hey Vic, you're down in Houston, right? We're in Dallas. Why don't you come up and do some work with us? And I was like, okay. See, again, not me. It just, door open, step through. So they cast me in Yu Yu Hakusho, and then to play Broly in Dragon Ball Z, and also to play Berger in the Ginyu Force. And then Kitty Grade and Spiral and Case Closed. So now I'm working at ADV in Houston, and I'm working at Funimation in Dallas, and going back and forth. Well, the next thing you know, Funimation gets licensed to a property called Full Metal Alchemist. And I got a call from Justin Cook, who you guys know from Yu Yu Hakusho. Well, Justin's like head of production now at Funimation. And at the time, Justin was a director. He was an ADR director. He called me and he goes, hey, I want you to come up and audition for this series. It's called Full Metal Alchemist. Well, us at ADV, we had just done a show called Full Metal Panic. So I was like, me being the brilliant anime aficionado that I am, I'm like, is like Full Metal Panic? Is it part of that? He's like, no. No, it's a different show. So I drove up to Dallas and I auditioned. And Justin Cook said, there's this character that I think you would really be good for. And I want you to read for him. He's this kid in the red coat. Now, I want you to know, I didn't know anything about Full Metal Alchemist. For all I knew, Edward Elric had 10 lines. For all I knew, he was just, you know what I mean? Just a kid in the show. I had no idea. And that was when I started to get, well, after I got cast, and by the way, the Japanese selected the cast, the main cast for Full Metal. When it comes to big shows like that, like the Narutos and the Bleach and Full Metal and that kind of stuff. The Japanese who own the property, they're the ones who make the selections on the main cast because they want to make sure that they're represented the way they want them to be. So they chose me to play Ed, and then there was a long period of time where we didn't do anything. But somehow the word got out that I was playing this character. And then something happened that has never happened to me before. I had recorded, to this date, at this point in time, I had probably recorded 35 or 40 series when I got cast in Full Metal. And something happened that had never happened before. I started getting emails from fans saying, hey, I heard that you're playing Edward Elric in Full Metal Alchemist. Don't screw it up. I kid you not. I started getting mail going, you guys, Funimation, better not screw it up. You better not turn Full Metal into another Dragon Ball Z. I was like, oh my gosh, this must be a pretty popular show, or it has a big following. And so I started doing some research, and I watched some of the original Japanese, and Romy Park, who plays Ed, I love her to death, and I got to meet her in Tokyo and have dinner with her, but she was amazing. So we started recording. And you know, then, so I'm still working at ADV, working at Funimation, doing now Full Metal, and then after Full Metal comes Tsubasa Chronicle, Oran High School Host Club, and probably 25 other shows that I can't think of right now. Well, anime is growing, the conventions are exploding, and I'm working on this show. Well, suddenly I do a convention, and there are people at the convention from Los Angeles. They do anime in Los Angeles. And they say to me, hey, you should come out to Los Angeles and do some stuff. I'm like, okay. Do you see it? Just kind of wandered in. And I started auditioning for things in LA, but they didn't want to cast me because I didn't live in LA. So like I auditioned for like Ichigo and Bleach and a lot of those big recurring roles, but they didn't want to cast me because I didn't live there. They want people that are there and available at any moment to record. If you have to fly 4 hours to get there, they don't want to take a chance on messing up their production schedule, right? But I did start getting cast in video games. Disgaea, Persona, Disgaea, Soul Calibur, all that kind of stuff. And then, finally, I got cast as Ikaku in Bleach. Yes, Mr. Baldy. And then, as I was going to say as luck would have it, as God would have it, I started seeing this lovely girl who lived in Los Angeles. So I was living in Houston, recording at ADV, recording at Funimation, flying out to LA to do stuff, and seeing her, and then it got to the point where I'm like, you know what? If I were out in Los Angeles more, I could probably do more work. They would be more apt to consider me for things if I were there. So I moved out there. I still own my home in Houston. You guys all know, this is not news, ADV went under. And they're restructuring and trying to get back on their feet. But ADV went under, and I moved out to LA. And since I've been in LA, I've played like 4 roles in Naruto. Like recurring big characters. In fact, a couple that are coming up that I'm not even allowed to talk about yet. Vampire Knight, Kakaishi, and on and on and on. The list goes there. So again, I want you guys to understand, you don't even have to be religious. That doesn't matter to me at all. I want you to see this the way that I see it. I want you to see why I feel so strongly the way that I do. Because I feel so enormously blessed to be a part of what I get to be a part of, that I've been given the opportunity to do something that I love, something that's creative, something that allows me to interact with wonderful people and bring you guys laughter and tears and suspense and move you with work on different shows. I will never cease to get up in the morning and fall straight to my knees and be so thankful for the opportunities that I've been given. I told Michelle last week I was getting ready to get on a plane, as I do almost every week. And I said, you know what, if something were to happen on this plane, and my life was over, I have lived the most blessed life right now, if I didn't get one more day, I have been blessed way beyond what I ever deserved. And I am so grateful for that. Thank you for that. I am so grateful. So I want to pass that gratitude on to you. That's why I do what I do. That's why I spend the kind of time that I do answering 100 emails a day. I stay up until like 2 in the morning, you guys, writing emails back to people that write me. Because I'm so blown away by the privilege to get to do what I do. And I don't ever want you guys to think that I do not appreciate you so much and want you to know how much it means to me that you guys support like what I do. And you know what? I'm gonna say something that everybody says. Haters are gonna hate. I swear. I have heard, and I promised myself I wasn't gonna go here. I have heard the most outrageous, insanely ludicrous lies about me that people on the internet propagate. They tell these stories that it's unbelievable that they even think anyone would believe them. But they tell them, they say it, and it's pretty obvious. I think we all understand. There are people out there, and you guys may even know some of them. They're very lonely. They don't have, they're lonely in their lives, and they want so desperately to have some attention. They're so desperate for someone to notice them, and they will do whatever they need to do and say whatever they think they can say to get some attention. So they pick somebody that a lot of people know, and they make up horrible lies. I mean, heartbreaking to me. I mean, I vacillate back and forth between being so angry and being so heartbroken, because I spend so much of my life trying to enrich the lives of people that I come in contact with. People have told me that there are like forums and websites and stuff that people like, I saw Vic stumbling around drunk at this convention and like hitting on everybody. Guys, can I tell you something? Look into my eyes. God strike me dead if I'm lying right now. And you know I would not say that unless I meant it. I have never been drunk a day in my life. I'm not talking about anime conventions. I'm talking about ever. Not in college, not in the privacy of my own home. I have never been drunk. Now, let's add to it the fact that when you're at an anime convention, there are 6,000 flipping video cameras running all the time, right? Where's the proof, man? If this is a regular occurrence, then where's the proof? There isn't any. And it really troubles me that people are so desperate for some attention that they make up horrible lies. I've heard, can I tell you one more? Yeah, sure. And then we're going to get to positive stuff, I swear. The whole yaoi thing. Let me say something, you guys. There are people out there that love yaoi a lot, but it's not enough for them to love yaoi. They insist that you love it too, and if you don't, you are target for destruction, my friend. So, it's not my thing, okay? I have never been cruel, or rude, or mean, or short to a yaoi fan. You know what I mean? Not short like Ed. As soon as I heard myself say short, I'm like, they're gonna go there. They're gonna think that. I have never, ever, YouTube, ever been cruel or mean or rude to a yaoi fan. Ever. Did I say ever? And yet, here are some of the lies that I have heard. Vic was signing autographs at a convention, and someone came up and asked him to sign yaoi, and he started screaming in their face, and he threw the Sharpie in their face and stormed away, walked away from the line of people waiting. I've never done any of that. I've never yelled at a fan. I've never thrown a Sharpie at anybody, and I've never walked away from any autograph session ever. It's just one lie on top of the other. There's another one that I'm currently suing a hotel because I was at a convention where this